Hello everyone, All 22 in a Field Film Review giving you guys the next episode of Draft Wraps, my draft class analysis series where we dive deep into all 32 classes, letting you guys know how I feel about every pick, according to my big board, who's left on the board positionally, is it a team need, is it a scheme fit. We'll be talking about the best starting for all these guys, as well as immediate kind of role projections if I see that for the player. So if you want to learn more about the Bills class that we're going to be talking about today, or anything about any of the other 31 classes, make sure you go through the channel, stick around. We only have one more episode coming out after this, the season is wrapping up, but make sure you go through the channel just to kind of get my opinion, see what I think about your favorite teams, all that good stuff. Like I said, we're going to be talking about the Bills today, my second overall class in this drafting cycle, a very, very good class. They get an A+, a 3.46, one of my only two teams to get an A+, a very, very good draft for them. They hit their needs from top to bottom, in my opinion, got some very good values. Very excited to talk about this class with you today. They start off with Maxwell Hairston, a corner out of Kentucky, then go TJ Sanders, an IDL out of South Carolina, Landon Jackson, an edge out of Arkansas, Dayon Walker, a interior D lineman out of Kentucky, Jordan Hancock, a safety / nickel corner out of Ohio State, Jackson Haas, a tight end out of Georgia Tech, Dorian Strong, a corner out of Virginia Tech, Chase Lunt, a tackle out of Connecticut, and Caden Prather, a wide receiver out of Maryland. A lot of picks to talk about today. Very excited to go through this one, so let's just hop straight into it here. Oh, also, that numerical grade, I should mention that 3.46, that numerical grade coming from an equation that I made for you guys, so you guys could have a more concrete feel about how I feel about all of these 32 classes. Stack the same letter grades, or just kind of compare your favorite classes, see how close they are to each other. Just kind of an extra fun thing we could come back to, see where I was right, see where I was wrong, see where I can learn. The video's more about the analysis and the grades per pick, but like I said, I just want to give that to you guys, a little extra fun thing we can do to rank these. But let's get into this class. They start off with Maxwell Hairston, a corner out of Kentucky with the 30th pick, no trade compensation on this one. I absolutely loved this pick, honestly, for them. This was a pick that I made back for them back in March when I was doing my what I would do 3-round mock draft series. I think this is an excellent scheme fit for them as more of an off type of corner, a very, very athletic piece that can really match whoever you want him to. Going to be lacking a little bit physically in terms of, getting his hands on the receiver throughout the route, being physical at the break point. Does have the physicality and the ball skills at the catch point, but really throughout the route is where he's going to struggle with that. You're not going to want to put him in press a ton, but a very athletic, rangy, smart, off type of corner, can do a lot of off zone for you, do a lot of off man, has some nice trail, has some excellent recovery speed. I was a big fan of Maxwell Hairston. He was 21 on my big board, my 4th overall corner, ranking him basically the exact same with Will Johnson. He was the 3rd one taken off the board. I thought this was a great value for them. Really wanted them to go after an outside corner in this class. Christian Benford has been a very, very nice pick for them as a very physical, aggressive corner. Getting Maxwell Hairston is kind of the perfect kind of opposite style of corner you would want to pair up with him. When you look at the rest of their corner room, Taron Johnson has been a very good nickel for them, but not an outside type piece. They bring in Trey White, who is definitely not the Trey White they had when they drafted him. And they also bring in Dane Jackson, who has not played well recently, so definitely want to get more corners in this room. Maxwell Hairston should compete and, in my opinion, start for this team right away. This is a very, very good corner to me. A 5'11", 183-pound corner, not the biggest guy in the world, like I said. He is going to lack a little bit of physicality throughout the route and at the break point. He's not afraid to defend the run. He's not going to be able to shed blocks. He's not going to be a devastating tackler, but he's not afraid to snick his nose in the run on out there, so if the ball gets to him, you're not too worried about him trying to bring people down. Going to be 22 in his rookie season, put up a 9.63 RAS. Like I said, this guy can fly, has all the recovery speed, has the quick twitch athleticism, has the hips. This is a very, very fun player to watch. Only had 7 games this season, had a shoulder injury that took him out of most of the season. But in those 7 games, had 1 interception, 4 PBUs, 78.2 passer rating allowed, 9 tackles, 1 sack, and 2 forced fumbles, which is honestly very nice production for only having 7 games. Not bad at all. Was a 2023 second-team SEC selection last year as a starter in a full year of starting. Also has 3 pick sixes in his 2 years starting for Kentucky. This is a player with a lot of ball skills. Like I said, a lot of athleticism. He fits super well next to Christian Benford as a very good scheme fit for this Sean McDermott defense. I gave it an A+. This is a very, very, very good pick in my opinion. Their next pick, they go TJ Sanders, an interior D lineman out of South Carolina with the 41st pick, the 9th pick of the second round. Getting this pick is part of a trade up with the Bears, sending over 56, 62, 109, 441, 72, and 240. A lot of picks going back and forth there. I wasn't the absolute biggest fan of the trade up. There was a lot of really good interior defensive linemen at this spot in the draft, especially that fell to 56. I really feel like you didn't need to trade up to get a good one, but honestly, how they landed these trades or how they landed these picks after the trade, I can't hate it at all because they drafted for their scheme and drafted players of need that are just really good values. TJ Sanders, a good value in my opinion, was 47 on my big board, taken at 41, so that's not bad value at all. Was the 7th IDL on my big board, the 6th one taken off the board. The only one I had above him who hadn't been taken yet was Darius Alexander. Now, I understand them wanting to get a TJ Sanders for this team over Darius Alexander. Darius Alexander, I thought, more of a 3-down player, has a little bit more upside as a 3-down type of lineman. But TJ Sanders, one of the best pass rushing interiors in this entire class, probably the best pure bull rushing get off from the interior in this class, just a really good penetrator. So I understand why they want to get him for this line. I really wanted them to target IDL in this class. I'm very glad they did it this early. They have Ed Oliver, who's been very good for them, but Daquan Jones is not getting any younger at this point. They bring in Larry Ogunjobi on a Band-Aid deal for 1 year. Doesn't really move the needle for me. They drafted Dwayne Carter in the 3rd last year, but if you're not retaining Larry Ogunjobi more than this year, or you're not keeping Daquan Jones around, then this is going to be a completely different group by the time we get back to this process next year. So I really wanted them to get more depth, more long-term capability in this line. Getting someone like this who can filter in on pass rush situations, on stunts, on blitzes, I think this is absolutely perfect for this line. It was a really good pick to me in A. He is a 6'4", 297-pound interior, not the thickest guy in the world, but a really good penetrator and an absolutely electric type of bull rush stab specialist up the middle. Not a lot of finesse moves to his game, not the best run defender in year one, but he can hold his own against reach blocks and in single down blocks when he is able to recognize them. Going to be 22 in his rookie season, put up a 9.3 ARAS. Like I said, this man can definitely get off the ball and move around and stun for this team. Had 4 sacks, 6 hurries, and 7 TFLs in 2024, along with 50 tackles and a PBU. Not bad production at all. A 2-year starter for South Carolina. A very, very solid pick for me. Honestly, probably doesn't have the upside of a dominant top 5 3-down interior player, but this can be a solid guy for you on early downs if you can mold him into that, and a very, very nice pocket pusher can be a very good interior rusher for you. Definitely like it for this team. He should be competing for that second rotation of interior linemen, and definitely should be competing for a lot of pass rush snaps when they want to bring Daquan Jones and Larry Ogunjobi off of the field. Like this pick a lot for them. Their next pick, they go Landon Jackson with the 72nd pick, the 8th pick of the 3rd round, an edge out of Arkansas. Again, getting this from the trade up with the Bears, setting over 56, 62, 109, 441, 72, and 240. This got an A+ for me. I absolutely loved this pick. Not only is it a great just overall value according to my big board, he was 51 on my big board, taken at 72. This is a guy who I thought 100% should be taken in the 2nd round. It was a great positional value. He was my 8th overall edge. He was the 12th edge taken off the board. So he was by far and away the best edge in my opinion. Also fits this room super well. When you look at the type of guys they like to bring into Buffalo as their edges, these kind of big body, longer, powerful guys like Greg Rousseau. Now they bring in Joey Bosa, who is a very, very good player, but has a lot of trouble staying on the field and isn't the highest kind of upside in terms of early down play. Definitely isn't a long-term option at this point in his career. Outside of that, you have Michael Hoyt, who's much more of an early down run defending piece. And then you have Javon Solomon, who you took in the 5th round last year. Definitely doesn't stop you from taking someone else to bring in this room. especially someone who can compete for starting time if Joey Bosa does go down. They also have AJ Epineza, who's much more of a run defending piece than a pass rushing piece at this point. So I absolutely love bringing in Landon Jackson, who, like I said with Greg Rousseau, fits this room as a super long, powerful rusher. This guy has all the upside in the world. He has insane power off the edge. When he's able to keep his pad level down, which is a trouble for him at 6'6", but when he is able to keep that pad level down, he is able to land his hands and drive. This guy walks people back with ease. He has a beautiful bowl, a beautiful stab, very, very raw in terms of pass rush nuance and tool belt. Doesn't know how to counter off of anything yet. Does not really know how to win around the edge consistently. He flashes the ability to throw a cross chop to threaten the edge with his get off, because he is a good athlete and he does have good get off. Even at that size, he was playing at like 6'6", 280. Even at 280, you saw the athleticism. He wasn't a bad mover and definitely had a lot of straight line get off. He flashes the ability to threaten the edge and pull his hips through. Now, those are very, very inconsistent flashes, like the true definition of flashes, because it does not happen consistently. But he did show up to the combine weighing around 267. He dropped a lot of weight from that 280. So, with that loss of weight, with that a little bit more of athleticism, maybe he is able to threaten the edge more consistently and pull his hips through and stack behind tackles more consistently. If he does, oh my gosh, this is such a high upside player, because if he can actually win around the edge, threaten around the edge, and learn moves around the edge, he has all the power in the world. Just so much power, raw power, and explosiveness out of his stance. And he is such a high effort and smart run defender. For all of his kind of discrepancies in the pass rush game, not knowing counter moves, not being super nuanced, rushing with a really high pad level a lot, which will negate his power. He is such a good run defender. He uses all that strength and translates it super well to run defense, where he can set an edge. He has the athleticism to not get reached by reach blocks. I did not see this man get reached at all. He is so good at holding an edge. He can slide inside to a 4-eye and take on guards and be fine. He's got a very strong base, knows how to land his hands inside and rework his hand leverage, shocks back, and absolutely sheds and throws people around with that amazing strength. This is a guy with number one potential edge rush upside and could be a top 10 edge rusher if it all hits, with that size, with that athleticism. Like I said, at 6'6", came in around 264, and has all of the testing freakness in the world. Jumped out of the park, ran a 4.67. This guy is just an absolute, just moldable piece of clay if you can get him to hit that upside. But there is a real reason he fell to this point. It is a long ways to get there. You've got to teach him to consistently rush lower. You've got to teach him how to counter. You've got to teach him how to actually have a nuanced and wide tool belt to have multiple moves that you can work off of and learn how to set up tackles to use those moves. But if nothing else, this is just such a good early down run defender that just boosts the floor of this room, especially with Joey Bosa's kind of health concerns. This is such a good pick in my opinion. Going to be 23 in his rookie season, put up a 9.78 RAS, all the size, all the testing athleticism. This guy is a freak in my opinion. 6.5 sacks, 9 hurries, 9.5 TFLs, 39 tackles, 3 PBUs, 1 forced fumble, and a blocked kick on this season. Was a 2024 second-team SEC selection and a 2023 first-team SEC selection. Had a little bit more sacks and a lot more TFLs in this previous year, but he still looked really good on tape, and this year, in my opinion, looked really good in the Senior Bowl as well. In the game, you saw him trying to work around the edge and get his hips stacked around the edge a lot more consistently, and it kind of looked like it was kind of hitting home more for him. The fact that it looks like he's trying to work on that and improve on that, very good sign to me. This is a very, very exciting player, an A+. Again, I thought this was great value. I wanted them to draft an edge. He fits this edge room very well, and if he hits his upside, this is a very nice starter next to Greg Rousseau. Their next pick, they go Dalen Walker, a interior D lineman out of Kentucky with the 109th pick, the 7th pick of the 4th round, getting this as part of a trade-up with the Bears, sending over 132 and 169 to move up for 109. Now, I don't hate them doubling up at IDL. We talked about that interior line group earlier with Daquan Jones aging, Larry Ogunjobi being on a 1-year Band-Aid deal. If they don't retain those 2 players at this point next year, you'll only have 4 guys with TJ Sanders, Dayon Walker, Dwayne Carter, and Ed Oliver. So honestly, I don't hate them, drafting another IDL at this point, especially because they hit their really big 3 needs, in my opinion, of getting a corner, getting an IDL, and getting another edge. Like, if you want to double up, go for it, especially at IDL, and especially getting this type of player in Dayon Walker, an absolute mammoth of a man at 6'7", 331 pounds, insanely big guy who can play the nose for you, who has a lot of pass rush upside, who can move up and down the line for you. Honestly, there's a lot of versatility in his game. Only going to be 21 in his rookie season as well. Now, he only did put up a 3.74 RAS, but you're not drafting him for the athleticism. This is a guy who honestly was kind of shaping up to be a first-round pick, but over the last few years, his production has kind of middled off. He's just never taken that next step, and his production has honestly actually declined, as not really much has middled off. But this was a guy who has a ton of early production at Kentucky, was a freshman All-American coming out for Kentucky, just didn't really keep that pace of play up, and that is why he falls. But if you can get him back to that freshman year kind of shape he was in, this is a guy who can be very helpful depth, especially pass rushing depth, and if nothing else, a giant guy to just plug in the middle to help your run defense, just being able to soak up blockers if you can develop more play strength and a more consistent base. I 100% like this for them. At 1.5 sacks, 0 hurries, 2 PBUs, 5 TFLs, and 37 tackles on this season. Like I said, the production, especially in the pass rush game, has fallen off for him. But if you can get him back to his freshman year self, this is going to be a very, very good addition to your line. Like I said, a freshman All-American for Kentucky, a 2024 third-team SEC selection, and a 3-year starter for Kentucky. This was a very solid pick, and I like it big. Also, again, as we get into these Day 3 grades, it's going to be graded on a different scale than Day 1. Day 1, going to be harsher grading, a letter grading, going to weigh more into that numerical grade as teams draft more for BPA, best player available, and BPA kind of for their needs. Day 3, much more about adding kind of aspects to positions, not completely upgrading positions or getting starters. If you can get a guy that you feel can do that, that's great, but it's more about upgrading aspects of a room, like getting a deep threat kind of burner in a wide receiver room that doesn't have a lot of juice, getting a giant meat clogger in the middle of your defense if you don't have a lot of size or you've been lacking in the run defense department, or getting a big safety and converting them over to a linebacker to help the pass coverage unit, or to bring them in on kind of dime looks just to, boost the coverage ability of that linebacker room, stuff like that. Going to be graded on, and I love it, I like it, I see the vision or an I don't get it basis. Just because you're, taking people on Day 3 doesn't mean you can't reach, or you can't, draft guys that don't really make sense to your room, might have an uphill battle to make the roster, stuff like that. I'll be explaining kind of why I give each of these kind of their grades, but if you want a more concrete definition on each of those categories, check the description, as well as kind of just check the description out if you have questions about anything in general. Now, if they're not in the description, come scream at me in the comments, as well as just leave comments in general about whatever you're thinking, whatever you want to get off your chest, constructive criticisms, things like that. I love talking to you guys down below, so let me know what you guys think, but if you have any kind of basic questions, should be able to answer it in that description. The Dayon Walker gets an I like it. I don't think this is a bad pick at all. Their next pick, they go Jordan Hancock, a nickel kind of slash safety, someone who played a lot of nickel and safety, no real outside corner, but not a lot of true deep safety either. Much more of a role player with the 34th pick in the 5th round, the 170th pick out of Ohio State. They get this from the Kaiir Elam trade, trading away Kaiir Elam and pick 204 and getting pick 170 and a 2026 7th rounder back. Now, this got an I see the vision. I didn't necessarily 100% understand this. If they were going to get more secondary help, I would want it to be at kind of a true corner position and not a safety corner hybrid. When we look at their safety room, they have DeMar Hamlin, they have Taylor Rapp, who they seem to trust. They brought in Cole Bishop in the 2nd round last year, who I really liked, and then they also bring in Derek Forrest over from Washington, who I think is honestly a very good one-year signing. So it's a very, very deep safety room. If you're trying to get this guy as a safety who also plays nickel, the path for him getting on the field is going to be very, very murky. He's got 4 guys who I really don't think they're going to want to take off the field to put him on the field. Now, if he's competing for a backup nickel spot behind Taron Johnson and kind of that long-term nickel spot after Taron Johnson leaves, then I kind of more understand that. But I think they need more outside help than they do true nickel help. So it just kind of gets more of an I see the vision. I don't think this is terrible value for him at the very end of the 5th round. I thought he was more of a late 5th, kind of early 6th round guy. So this is around the spot where I'm comfortable taking him. Just don't really necessarily see it for this roster. Now, he does fit in terms of scheme, being able to play off zone, being able to play in the nickel for them. But again, just not the most clear path to playing for him. A 6 foot, 195 pound safety, going to be 22 in his rookie season, put up a 9.82 RAS. This guy had very, very good testing measurables. So if you can, get him to hit his upside, it's not like he's a bad player for you. This can be a very, very good slot nickel or a slot safety for you that kind of rotates back and then up to the slot for you. But again, it's going to be kind of a murky path to starting for him. Just didn't really love it, but if you can get him to hit his upside, it's going to be a very good pick. Had 1 interception, 8 PBUs, 1.5 TFLs, 2 forced fumbles, 48 tackles, and 5 missed tackles. Was a 2-year starter for Ohio State. Not a bad pick at all, but we'll see how quickly he's able to get on the field. Most likely just going to be a special teamer early on in his career. Their next pick, they go Jackson Hawes, a tight end out of Georgia Tech, with the 173rd pick, the 37th pick of the 5th round. This got an I like it pick for me. Now, he is coming in to be their 3rd tight end, and if you're going to draft a 3rd tight end, I think you definitely can wait a little bit longer than the 5th. But this is the very, very back end of the 5th as we get into the compensatory picks of the 5th round. And he's definitely does fit well for this room. When we think about their tight ends with Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox, Dalton Kincaid, much more of a glorified slot receiver, not really much of an inline blocking wide tight end. Dawson Knox, not a liability blocking, but he's not the highest upside true inline tight end either. Jackson Hawes, a blocking specialist coming out of Georgia Tech, just really boosts the run blocking floor of this room. You can bring him in on 12 personnel. The Bills have been running a lot more I-form, a lot more pro-style situations to get James Cook the ball on early downs and, use a lot more play action off of that. Jackson Hawes, you can bring him in on 13, on 12 personnel and just really, really help the run blocking of this O-line. So I really like it in that sense. Not going to be a, true number 1 tight end type guy. Probably never going to be a real receiving threat. But blocking tight ends are needed in the NFL, especially if you want to get into big boy formations on the early downs, like the Bills are doing more and more. Very, very good fit for this room since they really don't have a true blocking type of guy. 6'4.5" tight end, going to be 253 pounds in his rookie season. Going to be 25 towards the end of his rookie season. Put up a 7.23 RAS. They're not drafting him for his athleticism, but it's not like this isn't a guy you can't give some dump offs or delay routes to and expect him to, get down the field and pick up some extra yards after contact. He's not a liability by any sense. Had 16 receptions on the season for 195 yards, 0 touchdowns, but 12.2 yards per catch, which honestly isn't bad for a tight end. Not a ton of receiving production though. Like I said, that's not really his game. A 2-year starter at Yale before going over to Georgia Tech and was a two-time second-team Ivy League selection with Yale. This is a guy with a lot of smarts. You expect him to be able to come in, work hard, and learn this playbook early. Try to get him on the field as early as possible as a blocking guy on early downs for this team. I think he fits a very good role for them. It gets an I like it pick. Their next pick, they go Dorian Strong, a cornerback out of Virginia Tech, with the 177th pick, the first pick of the 6th round. They get this pick as part of the Boogie Basham trade, and this is a very, very good pick in my opinion. This guy and I love it pick. I thought Dorian Strong in this type of cornerback class where outside the top 3 rounds, there's not a ton of outside guys. This is a guy who I thought should have definitely gone somewhere in the 4th. Someone who can maybe potentially be an outside starting corner for you if you can develop them right. Getting him in the 6th, I think this is absolutely insane value for the player. We talk about this room as well. Like I said earlier, I wouldn't mind them double dipping at outside corner. We talk about, they have Maxwell Hairston, they have Taron Johnson, and now they have Benford as their starting 3. But behind that, Dane Jackson, it does not keep you from drafting anyone else. Trey Wyatt does not keep you from drafting anyone else. So I really, really like them bringing in another outside guy. This is such a good value in my opinion. And if they develop him well, he can be a starting outside corner, especially in this scheme where it's a perfect scheme for him. He's not going to be trusted in a lot of press situations. He can play a lot more off coverage where he is most kind of comfortable. This is a good athlete, not a great athlete, but an athlete you're fine with on the outside. Like I said, he should have went 2 rounds earlier than this. So if you can develop him well, this is a potential starting outside corner and someone who's going to compete for that kind of third outside corner role with Dane Jackson and Trey White. And I wouldn't be surprised if he earns it at some point in this year. So I think this is a very, very good pick, and I love it pick in my opinion. A 6'1", 185-pound corner, he does not have bad size at all. Love to see him put on a little bit of weight, but at 6'1", 185 in today's NFL, that's definitely playable. Going to be 23 in his rookie season, put up an 8.34. Like I said, not an elite athlete, but one you're definitely comfortable with starting on the outside. Had 2 interceptions, 6 PBUs, a 61.6 passer rating allowed when targeted in coverage, 32 tackles, and a forced fumble on the season. Very nice production for this spot in the class. A 2024 ACC honorable mention and a 3-year starter at Dorian Strong. This was such a good value pick in my opinion. They just keep getting such good value picks in this class. And like I said, he's going to compete for a role early, and I wouldn't be surprised in a year or 2 if he's getting real playing time, honestly. This was a very good pick. Their next pick, they go Chase Lunt, a tackle out of Connecticut with the 206th pick, the 30th pick of the 6th round. This is another I love it pick, another guy who I thought should have went a round or 2 earlier. This was a guy who I thought would have went to the 4th or 5th. The fact you get him at the very back end of the 6th, insane value for Chase Lunt in my opinion. This is such a good fit coming over to the Bills as well, where they like taking smaller school guys on the line and developing them. It worked very well with them taking Spencer Brown out of UNI, take another, really big kind of moldable clay piece out of Connecticut, another kind of smaller school, to be behind your mammoth of a right tackle in Spencer Brown. You can learn very well from him. Now, in terms of left tackle, I'm forgetting the name of who they drafted last year, but they drafted a guy in the 6th round last year, so not going to be sliding in as a depth piece over there, but should be sliding in as their backup right tackle right now. And this is a guy with starting upside, in my opinion, at 6'7", 305, was a 4-year starter for Connecticut. He's got a lot of experience on 449 pass block snaps, allowed 0 sacks, 1 hit, and only 8 hurries. Now, it is at Connecticut, but still, that production on that many pass block snaps is absolutely insane. I don't care what level you're at. Like, all the size in the world at 6'7", not an outworldly athlete, but an athlete you're fine with playing over at right tackle, especially with that size. Like I said, he's going to be learning behind another mammoth that came out of a small school in Spencer Brown. This is such a good fit for him, in my opinion, and such a good value. This team is just doing it again and again. It gets an I love it pick. This was a very, very, very good pick, in my opinion. Very good depth. And when Spencer Brown, whenever he leaves this room in 2-3 years, Chase Lunt should be able to step up and compete for a starting job for them. I would not be surprised if he develops well and ends up being a starter for this team. Their next pick, they go Caden Prather, a wide receiver out of Maryland, with a 240th pick, the 24th pick of the 7th round. Getting this as part of the trade with the Bears that we talked about earlier, sending over 56, 62, 109 for 41, 72, and 240. This got an I like it pick, honestly. This was a draftable player, in my opinion. The 7th round is not a bad spot for him, especially this far back in the 7th. When you look at their wide receiver room, in terms of him getting playing time early, it is a little bit crowded, but I do think it is a really good fit. When we look at the guys, they have Keon Coleman, they have Joshua Palmer, who they brought in from the Chargers. They have Khalil Shakir, who's been a very good slot. They have Elijah Moore. They bring in Laviska Shenault, who's more of a gadget and a very good run blocker. They also have Curtis Samuel. Now, all of those guys I just named, Keon Coleman, more of an X, but Khalil Shakir, more of a slot. Joshua Palmer, more of a Z. Elijah Moore, more of a slot to a Z. Like I said with Laviska, more of a gadget type. Curtis Samuel, more of a slot to a Z. They really don't have anyone backing up Keon Coleman in this true X type of role. Caden Prather at 6'3.5", 204 is 100% that. And I do think he has a path to be able to play in year 1 due to that. I don't think he's going to compete for this wide receiver 3 room, or like wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5. But if Keon Coleman were to miss time due to any reason during the season, God forbid, but if he were to miss time, Caden Prather would 100% step into the Keon Coleman role and run the exact same route tree that they're trusting Keon Coleman to do. Trust him with those goal line fade balls, with those back shoulder balls on the outside that Josh Allen loves to throw. I think this is a very good fit for this room. And like we mentioned with getting day 3 picks, upgrades the aspect of this room in terms of size and outside X capability. A very good 7th round pick in my opinion. Like I said, not going to compete for a ton of playing time rotating in, but going to be backing up Keon Coleman in that X role, and getting that at the very back end of the 7th I think is very good value, and I think he is going to make this roster for that reason. Like I said, a 6'3.5", 204-pound wide receiver, going to be 23 in his rookie season, put up a 7.68 RAS. Not an athlete, that's not why you're drafting him. Doesn't have a ton of separation, not the best route tree in the world, not the best releases, but this is a guy you can play in an X role, and you can mold to kind of do that same stuff that Keon Coleman does. Had 56 receptions this year for 624 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 11.1 yards per catch. Was a 2023 Big Ten honorable mention and a 2-year starter at Maryland, where he also was a 1-year starter at West Virginia before coming over to Maryland. Guy with a lot of playing time and has a real shot to make this roster long term, even though I don't think he is really better day 1 than any other guys that they have in that room. I think this is just a very smart pick for what they need in that room. Just with the rest of their draft, a lot of good scheme fits, a lot of good values. Again, it gets an A+ for me. This was a very good class, in my opinion. My number 2 overall class. I really hope you guys enjoyed listening to me talk about the Bills for this long. If you did, please let me know down below with a like or a comment. Let me know what your thoughts were on my analysis, on anything you're seeing, anything like that. If you don't, I really do appreciate you just making it to this point in the video. Honestly, it means the world to me, more than you guys could ever know. So, thank you guys. Please stick around for the last video if you guys are enjoying the analysis so far. And I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you.